Hey there, it's Anna. Welcome to the garden. Today I wanted to go through and talk all about starting seeds in a unheated greenhouse. So I have just one of these kind of plastic unheated greenhouses. I've grown in it for a few seasons now and learned quite a lot about how to use it. And so I wanted to just sit down and go through the entire process, start to finish, where to get them, how to get it set up, and then what seeds to start in it and how I'm doing that, and just some ideas on using one of these greenhouses. So let's start at the very beginning, which is where to buy an unheated greenhouse like this. They're pretty readily available these days. I think they're getting more and more popular. I think a lot of people are ending up getting these because it is a good solution. Like, I have a very small garden, just a small little townhouse backyard garden, and this greenhouse actually fits. It's not a big heated, beautiful glass greenhouse, but it does help me with my growing. And as I said, I've grown in it for about 3 seasons now and really found some great ways to use it. So I purchased this one off of Amazon, and I'll actually put the link for it, for the exact one that I got, down below, but they come in a variety of sizes. This greenhouse has 2 sets of shelves. There's like a narrower one that is a 1 set of shelves. And you can also get a size bigger that's actually like you can walk in and has more shelving and more room for plants. So it kind of just depends on what size of space you have and that you're able to dedicate to this. For me, this was a perfect size. I can get a lot done, and it fits pretty well into this little corner of my garden. And that's the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is the location. So where you actually want to place your greenhouse is going to make a huge difference. So if you are seed starting, you want to maximize as much sunlight as you can. So you probably want to try to find a really nice full sun location as you're able to manage, just that so that your seedlings have enough light, or as much light as they can, to get going. I do not use any kind of grow lights or anything out here, so I'm trying to maximize the sun. Now, I have used it in the summer. I've put it in a shadier location and kind of like used it to sort of protect things that I was like more worried about getting messed with from animals, and used for houseplants and stuff like that. So you can use it in the shade, but for our purposes today, we're talking about seed starting. You want to put it in as much sun as possible. And then you also want to find a level location. If you had it on grass, it might kill the grass, so that would be something to think about. I had this sort of random area next to my air conditioning unit, and then I had there was already some pavers and some gravel over here, so that has worked really well as a base. It's kind of easy to clean, and obviously there's nothing growing. It's not grass, so I don't have to worry about it killing the grass, and it's as level as possible. These greenhouses do have these little frames, which, as I said, mine has held up pretty well, but it's not like the absolute sturdiest, so having a nice level space, I think, just makes things a little bit easier. And then I have mine right up against the wall of my house, and for 2 reasons. One, it's really easy to secure it, so I do have it tied to the fence, and this helps with the wind. You do want to tie these greenhouses down, and the wall also acts as a wind. I think wind is probably one of the biggest enemies to these greenhouses, and a lot of the people that comment on my posts and things and share that they're having a hard time with the greenhouses often are when they're in a very windy location, or they're dealing with high winds, and these greenhouses can blow over. And if they blow over with all your seedlings in them, it's just so tragic and so hard. So tucking it into like a little corner like this, if you have a spot or like a sunny spot up against the wall of your house, really helps. And then I just tie mine straight to the fence so that it's, in addition, really as secure as it possibly can be. And on windy days, I make sure it's all closed up so that hopefully the wind isn't like getting in and catching anything and blowing away. And then I also use grow bags. So I think this has really helped a lot. I have these grow bags in here. They're 15-gallon grow bags. They're very heavy, very hard to move, and I put 4 in here, so this thing is really locked down. Now it can still blow around a little bit, and that's why being tied up up here and I tied it up high, you know, that helps a little bit with any kind of shaking. But the grow bags have really helped to keep the base of this greenhouse secure. And I would definitely recommend something like that, sandbags, something to really weigh the greenhouse down. The grow bags are kind of nice because you have a little bit of extra growing space as well. I've got peas starting in there right now, and so that has given a little bit of extra growing room. Okay, now I'm going to talk a little bit about venting and airflow. So as you can see, I have the door open right now. We are having an kind of unseasonably warm day. It's like almost 60 degrees Fahrenheit, which is very warm even for us this time of year, and it's almost 100 in there. I just came out and opened this door. But even with the doors open in full sun, it'll probably stay around 80 or 90 degrees Fahrenheit in there on a sunny day. So definitely venting is a big deal. Now, I haven't had any issue with humidity problems or anything like that. Keeping it vented like this really does work. I do come out though, and I open it up. If there's gonna be a day over about 45, 50 degrees Fahrenheit, if the sun's out, it's gonna get well over 80 degrees in that greenhouse. So I come out and open it any day that it's hotter than that to keep kind of at least, you know, around 80 degrees in the greenhouse for my seedlings. And that's super important because if you keep it closed up, it will get so hot. And then I do come out if we're having nights that are below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. I will come out and I will close the greenhouse to ensure that I keep the warmth of the day in the greenhouse for my seedlings. I also have this container pond that I put in here. I wanted to make sure it's kept from freezing because I've got little fish in there, and that has acted as a nice little heat source. That water does, you know, charge up with some of the heat from the day, and I think it helps to radiate back into the greenhouse and keep it warmer. I've noticed that it's been keeping the greenhouse pretty warm this year, which has been really nice. But even without a big water thing in your greenhouse like that, if it's been a sunny, warm day and the greenhouse has had a chance to heat up, I have noticed that it will stay about 10 to 20 degrees above the outside temperature in the greenhouse, which is pretty cool, especially because there's no heat source in there. It's just the greenhouse and the energy from the sun. If we have a bunch of gray days in a row and its temperature is below freezing, it does get down to the outside temperature, so it really does need that sunlight to heat up. And if you have a really gray weather, it's not gonna store up enough heat during the day to keep it above freezing in the greenhouse. Also, if you get really cold temperatures for an extended period of time, you know, you're getting down to the teens Fahrenheit or below, I can't say that it was gonna stay warm in there or above freezing necessarily, but in my climate, we usually get to about 20 degrees, somewhere in the 20 degrees Fahrenheit overnight, and it stays well above freezing in the greenhouse for the most part. As I said, the only time I've had it freeze in there is if we've had like 4 days without sun and really cold temperatures, and then it got down to freezing. Otherwise, it stays pretty nice and warm, which is really great and really helps seedlings get started. I don't use any kind of heat mats or heaters or anything to heat. I'm sure you could. I'm sure there would be options to do that, but I have just, as I said, used the sunlight and the warmth in the sun to keep things nice and hot. All right. So even with it staying above freezing and staying warm in there, it does get cool at night, as I said. I do not recommend fully starting tomatoes or peppers or any really warm weather annuals out in the greenhouse, at least before your last frost. So I do start all of those kind of things inside. My petunias, they're getting started inside. My peppers, they're getting started inside. What I do like to start out here are kind of cool weather vegetables. So this is a great place to start kales, lettuce, green onions, things that you would plant in cooler temperatures anyways. You can get a jump start. So like peas, those are something that you can plant once the soil is workable in the spring. And even though I wouldn't plant them outside just yet, it's just a little bit more warm and protected in this greenhouse. So I have peas that are sprouting. And as I said, I've had great luck with cool weather vegetables like green onions, Swiss chard. Even you could probably start like brassicas, like broccoli or collard greens, anything that you would start around, you know, soil workable in the spring, around your last frost time. You can get started in there and get a little bit of a jump on the season. Now, because I'm not using grow lights, it's not like starting them inside. They're still going to grow a little bit slower. You're still not going to get like, you know, just crazy growth on them, but they will get going and they will grow a bit faster than they probably would outside, or they will have that much more protection. So as I said, my peas are sprouting and they're doing well. They probably wouldn't be really sprouting or doing anything just yet in the garden. Today is a little bit of a fluke day because it's so warm. It feels like I could start peas, but I couldn't start them outside. But they are doing fine and they do get enough protection overnight. They do stay above freezing in there, and so they are able to grow, albeit slower because they don't have grow lights or artificial light. What you can also start in a greenhouse like this are perennial flowers and cool weather flowers. So I have some violas that are sprouting in there right now. This is a whole tray. I've got my fish food over here. This is a whole tray of perennial and cool weather flowers. So we've got some violas, that's this one starting right here. Some feverfew is starting. This is bachelor buttons. All flowers that you could sow in the fall or sow around the time of your last frost. Those are all perfect things. Think like winter sowing, right? Things that you can plant while it's still a little cool out. You can do all of those in the greenhouse. And look how happy those bachelor buttons are. They are just growing and looking beautiful. And we've got some sprouting happening on the violas. They didn't sprout as fast as they do inside, but they have taken off and are doing well now. So again, slightly slower than total inside growing, but still more growth than would be happening outside. So it's a nice way to get like just a little bit of a jump or do something, you know, something to do this time of year to be planting, be growing. I like to think of it, yeah, like winter sowing. You know, something that you can get started and it's going to wake up a little naturally, have a little bit of a boost, be a little bit protected, and be able to start taking off and hopefully plant out, which is saving some room inside my house, which I really love. So with that, you can just start them in a normal seed tray the way you would normally plant seeds, and then pop them out in the unheated greenhouse and expect them to grow. I would do, yeah, as I said, anything that's a cool weather crop, anything that you can sow in the fall, winter, around the workable soil in the spring, last frost sowing. Those are all fair game for winter planting in an unheated greenhouse like this. Now, while you can't start tomatoes in here or peppers, or at least I haven't done that, and I don't think that would really work, you can use it once you get to around last frost time as a great way to harden off those summer things. And I put a lot of my summer annuals in this unheated greenhouse and use it as a space to help harden off seedlings and get them transitioned to be planted out in the garden, because it adds just a little bit of protection and just a little bit of extra warmth. And so it can kind of help you to bridge that gap and make hardening off your plants a little bit easier. And you can also use it in the fall to kind of extend your season a little bit. You can grow some things on a little bit longer because you have the protection and the warmth. I used it to winter over some eucalyptus last year and kept some pots of eucalyptus. So you can also use it potentially to winter over some of your perennials or things that you want to just give a little bit more protection. For example, I want to protect the fish in the container pond, and so I'm using it for that. And then I also had, like, these are some foxglove that I wanted to winter over, and they are hanging out in there, and it's just giving them a little bit more protection, a little bit of warmth. You can see it has cooled down now to just about 85 degrees. Now I've had the door open for a few minutes, and that will probably stay right around that range for the rest of the day. And then I'll come out around 4 or 5 o'clock while there's still a little bit of sunlight and close it up to help trap in all of that. So I think that is all the basics of seed starting in one of these greenhouses. Please leave any comments and questions down below, because I will do a follow-up and kind of answer like Q&A, answer any questions that you have or questions that I get over on Instagram. I did do an Instagram live and answered some Q&A questions, and I tried to answer those questions in this video this time. But yeah, leave your questions and I'll do another follow-up video and answer any questions about growing in an unheated greenhouse, because I know a lot of people are thinking about this as an option, kind of just something to get a little bit more growing going on, a little bit more growing space. And it can be fun if you've got it set up correctly and you're able to utilize it. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next video. Bye bye.